I did one flip before I lost money. I was like, no, I'm never doing this again.
What's up, guys? Today we have special guest, Virg Mateo. Virg is the master of creative financing, has done over 50 plus deals, sub-2 and mortgage wraparounds, right? Mm-hmm. And so just super excited to kind of dive into that and just like the cool things that you've been doing recently. And welcome to the show, bro.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, so I mean, just let's jump into it. So I mean, the 50 plus creative financing deals, I feel like in today's market, it's so hard to find deals. Mm-hmm. But then you guys are somehow being able to find these like creative finance deals. Tell me number one, what is a creative finance deal and how does it work?
Yeah, I mean, essentially creative finance deal is if we don't buy a property the traditional way.
Okay.
Like going through like a regular lender, whatever it may be, creative, we bypass that. We go either direct to the seller or we buy from like wholesalers. Mm-hmm.
So when you buy the properties, like you're not taking out a loan, you're not bringing your own cash. Mm-hmm. How are you paying for the houses?
Yeah, so we raise money.
Okay.
So we use a lot of private money lending.
Okay.
To acquire the deals and like holding costs and whatever dispo strategy we choose. Mm-hmm.
What is like a typical like private creative finance deal look like?
Typical creative financing deal, I would say it was like $20K entry. Mortgage is about, let's just say, $300K balance.
So there's a $300,000 balance on the mortgage.
Correct.
And a $20,000 down payment to the seller.
Yes. Okay. And then I'll also pay if it's on the market, I would pay the agent as well, the commission. Okay. And then from there, we go through regular escrow. Everything's still the same. At closing, the loan stays in the seller's name. Okay. And then the deed gets transferred to me.
So this is like it's something about creative financing that's very, very, I think a lot of people are not aware of. They call it, I think, a subject to.
Yeah.
So like you buy a house from somebody and you keep the loan in that person's name.
Correct.
They don't clear that loan off their books. It still stays with them basically for the rest of their life or until the loan finishes. Mm-hmm. But you get the house.
Correct.
So you have the house, but the loan is in the original seller's name. Mm-hmm. Tell me, like, how does that work and how do you do that?
Yes, and not all owners will go for this, of course. Just because they're either in like distressed situations where either they're like 3 months like behind in mortgage payments or they can't pay the payments anymore. We worked with we took over a lot of VA loans as well, so they get PCS'd out out of the base that they're currently in. So those people, so what we do, let's just say a person can't afford the mortgage payments anymore and they don't want to ruin their credit, right? So we close it. We pay the mortgage on their behalf, essentially. I mean, everything just stays in their name.
And so how are people okay with just like keeping, because like does it stay on their credit report? Is it still in their name like that during the whole time?
Yeah, it stays in their name the whole time. So let's just say if I default on a payment, right? If I default on payment, they can take the property back through like a deed in lieu foreclosure. They can like essentially take the property back from me.
Can you explain that a little bit more? Well, before we get to that, so like just to kind of like understand like the whole process. So you buy this house. Let's say that you buy for let's say in this particular case like $320,000.
Yeah.
So $20,000 goes to the seller. He or she has a mortgage for $300,000.
Yeah.
It stays in his or her name.
Correct.
But you're the owner of it.
Yeah.
And then now you're paying his or her mortgage on their behalf.
Yeah.
And then it stays on their credit report. It stays on their record until the mortgage completes or you pay it off.
Or sell it. Yeah. I sell it or whatever it may be. That's exactly what it is.
I mean, how did you hear about this? And like,
I mean, I heard it I watched a lot of like Pace Morby.
Okay.
While I was still like my W-2 or still running my business, I would watch a lot of Pace Morby stuff. And I know like within real estate, it's either like you go all in or you don't.
Yeah.
Right? You really can't. You really can't go 50% in it, and that's how I do everything with life. So I just jump straight into it.
So I feel like I'm the same way. I'm like kind of like an all in or nothing guy, where like just like you. And I feel like a lot of successful real estate investors are like this, where they're just like once you have like a target or something that you're interested in, you just kind of like just focus all of your energy in that direction.
Exactly, because I'll get distracted. You know the shiny object syndrome.
Yeah, same. I have the same problem.
Yeah, like I remember I did one flip before I lost money. I was like, no, I'm never doing this again.
What happened? I mean, so you're working. What were you working when you were doing the flip?
What was I doing as a job?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was the property manager.
Okay.
Yeah, I was property manager. I didn't have a car. My friend drove me all the way to like Sacramento, which is like 2 hours away. I'm like, hey, can you come with me to check out this and meet with the seller?
Okay.
So
that's the flip you're talking about.
Yeah, that's the flip. Yeah, and then when we got there, I had to figure out how I was gonna get funding. I didn't have like $200K in cash.
Okay.
Just laying around. So I went on Bigger Pockets.
Okay.
And then just typed in the post. I'm like, hey, I have this deal, so and so. Does anybody want to partner with me? This is my first like deal, but it's locked up.
Yeah. You had it under contract.
Yeah, had it under contract, and hey, let's do this. Who wants to take the leap? One person replied. And then we ended up doing the deal together. We did lose money at the end.
What did you guys end up losing?
It was about like 7 to 10K.
Okay, so not too bad.
It wasn't bad.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of learning lessons probably, right? Because like you're going through the whole process of like the purchase, the renovation, like the holding costs, the sale, and everything.
The thing about that house, I remember when I was walking it, there were tick and fleas like instantly within like 5 seconds of me being in there. And then I was staying at my brother's house, and then I brought those ticks and fleas to his house.
I do. I've been in those houses like many times before. It's like, I mean, just the reason why they're on discount is because they're in bad shape, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times, and whenever there's like a tick or flea house, I'm like, oh man, like, cause like you can't just feel them jumping all over you, right?
No.
And then so like I'm always like, dude, like when you get to your car, I'm like, you try to brush up as much as you can, but like guarantee like 1 or 2 is gonna be like stuck on like your on your socks or something.
And then start multiplying at your house.
That's so brutal, man. That's so sucks. So that was like your kind of like your introduction to real estate investing.
Yeah. Because I first listened to like the Bigger Pockets podcast, like back in like 2017, but I didn't really I took action, but didn't really like do what I did now and go 100%. It was just more of like tippy toe and see how it's like. Yeah.
So your first deal, fix and flip in California.
Yeah.
Lost 10 grand.
Yeah.
And then what was like you're going through your mind with like at that point in time?
I don't want to do this ever again. So after that, I just stuck with property management for I would say another 5, 6 years, 7 years before I even got into this. Yeah.
So it's kind of like you're doing property management. You on Bigger Pockets, you found like you saw real estate investing. It's like it looks cool. Like everybody's talking about all their wins. Yeah. And the one thing about whenever you hear like a podcast guest, it's always somebody who's accomplished something, right? So they don't talk about all like the other guys who tried it and maybe like lost money and like never did another deal. Yeah. So it's like I think like a survivorship bias. Yeah. But then like so like you listen to Bigger Pockets, you're like, yeah, I'm excited. Let's try this. Did your first flip, lost money. And you're like, okay, like screw this.
Yeah, screw this. So I'm gonna move on. Then I got into wholesaling. Okay. So I started doing cold calls and got a list from List Source. Yeah. Is List Source still open?
I think so. Yeah.
So I use like List Source a lot. Got a list and just called, skip traced it. Okay. And then did I think like one or two like wholesale deals. Okay. But even that, I'm like, this is a lot of legwork for me to do. Yeah. I mean, on top of like being like a property manager.
Yeah. Like so you're like 9 to 5 property manager, and like kind of after hours you're doing like the investing on the side on the wholesaling.
Exactly. And a lot of people like preach, a lot of the gurus preach that like work smarter, not harder, right? And I was just trying to figure out ways, but it took me years after to figure.
The challenge is like when you're first starting, is like you can't work smarter because you don't have the skills to do it yet. Yeah. Like when you're first starting, there's so much, such a big foundational knowledge to learn and to kind of discover in real estate investing that you have to kind of like pay your dues until you learn all the foundations, build the experience, build the network things. Then once you have all that, then you can work smarter. But in the beginning, you just have to work hard to gain the knowledge and to gain the experience.
Yeah. So, I learned it the hard way.
But I mean, it's good. It's a good learning lesson, right? So it kind of got you to where you are now, just like going through like taking your lumps and your bumps and bruises.
And like knowing like what it really takes. You know what I mean? It's not just, hey, you can just walk in and be a flipper, or walk in or like do creative finance. It's not as easy as it seems. Like that's what I say. Like like my Instagram. Like what I say is I'm like, people don't talk about how hard real estate is. It ain't easy.
I mean I think that's the thing with social media or just like any kind of YouTube is like you get a shortened version of like the experience because like you see like, hey, this guy was here. he's here, right? And it's just like 30 seconds or something. Right? Like the whole flip only takes like a snap, and it's like from renovated like in a bad shape into like the final product.
Yeah.
But then there's so much that goes into it, like behind the scenes, like to get to that point, even to find the deal, funding it. I mean, like all the different kinds of parts of it, right? And so it just, like you said, there's so much to real estate investing that people don't see like behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you actually posted something recently about that.
Yeah,
about,
social media. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
social media is fake.
I mean, like, what are your thoughts? I mean, like, so how long have you been on social media for?
I mean, I started going it probably like about a year.
Okay.
Because like before even like between property management and creative financing, I was like a real estate agent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, so you did property management. Sorry, and then was
oh, property management, then real estate agent, and then got into like creative financing.
Okay.
Yeah. So when like the real estate aspect of it, started doing social media posting, trying to post every day as much as possible.
As an agent, you mean?
As an agent.
Yeah.
And then I mean, going with the experience, like with like bigger pockets and doing the flip, I was trying to be like the unique agent, the unicorn agent is what
the one that has like an investor friendly agent.
Exactly, the investor friendly agent, and that's how I was trying to skew it. I'm like, hey, you can house hack, or you can do a BRRRR. These are the different types. You know what I mean? Like those type of strategies. Yeah.
You know, I think like so social media has been like really powerful for us personally, but I think like there is like a misconception on like how valuable it can be. I think like so certain things is really good at. So like if you're an agent, like you just want to get your name out there as far as like an agent goes. And so like, cause like your job is just getting clients, right? So like social media is a perfect place for attracting clients as an agent. But as an investor, it's not as valuable as far as like just like getting like, cause you're not really getting too many deals as on social media. The one thing that does help as an investor, I think, is maybe like raising money. Yeah,
exactly. And what we did, we have gotten like a couple like deals because the way we post on, there was one post I did. I'm like, hey, if you're a wholesaler, if you're an investor, or a creative, I'm looking for sub 2 deals, and I just did the criteria. You know what I mean? Like people would send like agents would send who are interested in creative financing would send properties, but it's very, very rare that happens. But as far as like capital raising, it does help. Like just to show like you're doing it day to day.
I think it's like people want to work with people who are doing business, right? So like if you see other guys who are doing business, like you'd want to work with them versus somebody who you're not sure if they're doing business or not. So social media kind of gives you like the proof that you're doing business. And it's funny, like I've met a lot of like people on social media, like some of our realtors and the best ones just from social media. And if they didn't have social media, like I would have never been introduced to them at all. Just like it's such a powerful connector online, I feel like.
Yeah, no, I love it. It really like exposes you. Like you can literally film about anything. It's crazy. And I remember like as an agent, just going to the home, like, hey, this is what you can get for $1 million in San Francisco. This is what you can get for $200K in San Francisco, and then you would just show them like a box. You know what I mean? Like so yeah.
I feel like you have to have like it's fun. You gotta have like a little humor, a little fun with social media. It can't be like all serious, right? But a lot of it is kind of like your personality and like what you're interested in too. So kind of like it comes out on your posts or like on your stories or whatever it is.
Exactly, because not everyone's gonna like what you put out. You know what I mean? And that's what I've realized is. Of course, you want to target the audience that you want to attract, right? And not everyone's gonna like you, and who cares?
I like your handles are Delio with
Virgilio,
that's a cool handle. So.
Yeah, because of my old like AOL. Do you remember the AIM days?
Yeah. I mean, I'm old enough to remember that. I know.
The AIM days. It was like Virgilio, the Dilio. I was like, hey, now it's real estate. Let's go see if we can flip it around.
That's
it sounded good. I was like, oh shoot, let's do this.
Actually, all of my my social media before was like I was a huge Kobe Bryant fan.
Oh, okay.
So now like all my things
Rest
was
in
like
peace.
Baller Kobe 808 was like my handle for like all my stuff, like my AOL, whatever my email address is. But when I started getting into real estate, like I was still using Baller Kobe 808 for like my Facebook and everything. But like I eventually need to be like, hey, like I got some advice, like you need to like brand your actual name because people are not gonna know who you are. So like I switched to like, okay, no longer Baller Kobe 808. It's like now I'm like Daniel Kong, like, you know. So Daniel Kong 808 was kind of like the natural like kind of progression.
Yeah, I remember like just going off the screen names. I was really into like skateboarding. I remember like my phases growing up. Mine was like it was like skater boy like Pinoy.
You look at like all those like those AOL names. Like it's cringes when you look back, but that's like when you're like 12, 14. Like,
Yeah.
you see the world so differently from where you are now. You know?
Exactly.
So like your property management, you did a flip, you're a realtor for a little while, back to property management, and then what made like creative financing stick out of everything?
The fact that I don't need any money to own a home. I don't have to use any of my own money. Because it was preached, I mean, everywhere. I mean, not just like through like Pace Morby, saying that you can buy money like to load and no money down, just like the Bigger Pockets book. Right?
Brandon Turner, right?
Yeah, the Brandon Turner, exactly. And that's what really caught my eye, and I wanted to see like you can just take over mortgages because when I was like cold calling before,
as a wholesaler,
like they would just have mortgages and then it would just be dead leads after that.
Because there wasn't enough equity for a flip.
Exactly.
So like you're like here's like someone who like really wants to sell, but then like it doesn't fit my box because I can't flip it. Because then if I were to like buy it with a mortgage, there's not enough spread for like a renovation and a profit and a sell in the back end.
Exactly.
But now you're taking these leads are like they're bad leads for flipping, but then actually it makes sense for our creative finance deal.
Yeah, exactly. And then there was one house that we wholesaled, a creative deal that we wholesaled is where it had an amazing like a 3% interest rate, but it still had like 27 years and
left on the mortgage.
On the mortgage, 27 years left on the mortgage. And then the house needed a lot of work. All they did was like refinance like during the pandemic. That's why they had such a low rate, but they didn't have enough money to renovate it. So we sold it to a flipper.
Okay.
And that 3% interest rate is way better than like a hard money loan. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'd rather pay. I think a lot of flippers would rather pay that.
Yeah. I mean, we do the same thing. So like we do a lot of creative financing here in Hawaii, and we hold them for the duration of the project, and then just so we don't have to take out a hard money loan, right? So like we can pay the homeowner more because we don't have the holding costs. It takes out that risk. Yeah. So then like we can like here's like a cash offer, and then here's our creative offer. It's like $100,000 over like the cash offer because like we can just cut out the holding costs, cut out the risk, and then now we can and we just hold it for like 6 months or 9 months until we finish the flip, and then we sell it. So you
can like take your time a lot more.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, you're not trying to take your time. But but I mean, like, you don't have as much pressure, right? Because like you're not bleeding like the 12% like interest or whatever. Like that. Yeah, and so
okay.
Yeah. But okay, so I mean, like, so creative financing. So when you guys are buying these houses, what makes somebody like willing to let you have the house and keep the mortgage in their name?
The reason why they would sell. They're behind in payments. Okay. Or they can't afford the payments anymore.
Like, why wouldn't they just sell it on the market with like a real estate agent?
Yeah. So let's just say mortgage. Let's go back to the other property. It was $300K balance. Okay. And then they're selling it for, let's just say, on the market for $320. Okay. And after paying, let's just say they get $320.
Okay.
Right. They have to pay commissions. Okay. They have to pay all the closing costs. At closing, they're going to pay out of pocket. What it helps with creative financing, we put cash in their pocket. They come out positive as opposed to writing a $10K check. I'll give them $10K.
In this particular situation, like let's say they sold at $320, after all the realtor fees and the closing costs of escrow, they'd be like negative $10,000. Exactly. Like they'd have to actually pay to sell their house.
Exactly.
And then for $320, but if you come in, you're like, hey, I can actually give you money so they can actually receive $20,000. Yeah. Just the one caveat is that we just have to leave the mortgage in your name for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. And then like what I tell like sellers, because a lot of the stuff when we started was calling all the properties on the market. Okay. And for the stuff that's like on the market, we tell a lot of agents like at the end of the day, like this all sounds dandy and everything, but at the end of the day, I want to speak to your seller because essentially me and your seller are going to be married for the next 30 years.
Yeah. I mean, it really is a lot of trust in this relationship because you're owning the house and the mortgage is in their name. So like there is a potential for like their credit to be hurt if like you stop making payments or let's say you get abducted by aliens or something, right?
Exactly. Exactly. I say the same thing. Yeah. Funny you say about the abducted aliens. What we say is they're like, why should we do this? Yeah. When I say, let's just say 5 years down the line. Okay. I get abducted by an alien. It's the exact same story. I get abducted by an alien. You'll have 5 years of loan pay down. 5 years of appreciation, and you can use it. You can use the same real estate agent that tried to sell you their house, but they can probably sell it for more now. Yeah. And you'll probably have more cash in your pocket. Yeah.
So I mean, it's kind of like but how would they get the house back? Because like you own it currently, right?
Yeah. So let's just say there's a clause in our contract. It's like deed in lieu foreclosure. Let's just say I'm late like 30 days or 45 days, whatever we agree.
It's a predetermined amount. So like if you're late this much, then like there's like a deed that's already signed that they can get the house back.
Exactly. They can just walk to the county steps and like, here, I want my house back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems kind of dangerous for you. Like it's so you gotta make sure that you don't miss those payments or anything.
Oh
right?
yeah.
So.
And then that's what, and they tell me like, oh, I'm taking a big risk giving you my house and all that. I'm like, I'm taking the big risk. You can take the house back from me like essentially within 30 days.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm taking the biggest risk here.
I mean, like it all depends on how you set it up, right? Because a lot of people will do the sub-2 without the deed in lieu foreclosure, I think.
Yeah.
And so like in that case, now the seller's taking the bigger risk. But if you do the deed in lieu of foreclosure, now like you're taking the bigger risk. So it's just like where you want to balance like that.
Exactly.
That thing. And then how many days, right? Is it like 30 days late? Is it 60 days late? Or like how many missed payments, et cetera, right?
Yeah. Typically we do like 30 to 45 days.
Okay.
It ranges depending on the comfortability of the seller. Of course, we want a little bit longer just in case, because worst case scenario always
I mean, like,
happens.
the one thing that's like I'm always scared about is like sometimes like the banks will change like their servicer, like you know, and like the payment doesn't go through because nothing to do with your fault, but like the servicer changed. So like the same, like you know how like the lenders, they sell the notes on the back and behind to like different people, and then like the servicer changes. Yeah. And then so sometimes in like that transition, now your payment has to go to like a different address or a different online portal, and then that's a lot of times where like a missed payment could happen because like that is like transition, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I feel like that's like I feel like 30 days might be like too short. I don't know. Like,
and that will keep us on our toes too.
Yeah.
And we're in constant communication. I have I have all the sellers like phone number on my phone, and they can call me if anything, if they ever have any questions or anything. Because a lot of what sellers ask too is, I want to buy another house now.
Yeah.
Like what the heck? It's still on my DTI, right?
Yeah. On the credit report, right? So when the new lender, so like let's say in this example, right? Like they sold you the house for $320. Yeah. They walk away with $20,000. They got a $300,000 mortgage just in their name, but you own the house, right? So we'll talk about how you make money, all about this after. But then so the sellers in here, they're like, hey, like I've got this $300,000 like mortgage on my credit report. I want to buy another house, but now I have like this $2,000 payment or whatever it is, like on my report. How can I qualify for another mortgage?
Yeah. So what we do, so when we pay for the mortgages, a lot of people think that we pay the seller directly, but we use a servicing company, just like a loan. We use a third party.
What service? I mean, you mind sharing what servicing company you use?
So they're basically just the middleman, the mediator.
No, I mean, would you mind sharing like the name of some of your servicing companies?
Yeah. So there's Westar, there's 1 Point Lending. There's one that we're using right now. It's called Madison Management Services.
We've used them before too. Yeah. So I mean,
they're really good because they help with our wraparound mortgages as well. They do all like the qualifying, all like the RMLO process and like that.
So I mean, like for the can you just break down? Sorry, like how the third party service works a little bit for people.
So. Once we close on the property, we set up servicing. Okay. And with that servicing, we put our bank account. So they do an auto draft from our bank account. Then they pay the mortgage directly to the lender.
On behalf of the seller.
On behalf of the seller. So. Yeah. So once it has been paid, the seller gets an email. I get an email. It gets paid. And then it becomes, once it's like continuous for like 10 years later or whatever it may be, it becomes out of sight, out of mind for the seller. And when they're ready to buy a house, we can ask the servicing company, like, hey, can you print out the statements of whatever this house? And then they can show that statement to the new lender, and showing that they haven't been making the payments because we've been making the payments on their behalf. So that will typically knock it off the DTI. So I think it's like after 6 months, it's like 50% off your DTI. After a year, it's like completely essentially wiped out.
So what you're saying is like, as long as you've been making the payments for a full year, and then like you have a track record to show that when they apply for like a new mortgage on a new house a year later with the new lender, they can just take that like, hey, like we don't own this house anymore. I know like the mortgage is still in my name, but here's like the records of Virg who's been making the payments, and so like. Then the new lender will say, okay, that sounds good. We'll take that off your DTI. Now you can qualify for like the new loan or the new mortgage.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, not every lender is going to say yes to that. Of course, you have to shop around just like you do with traditional.
Yeah. So I mean, like, but as far as like their underwriting or the Fannie Freddie like rules, it's permissible. It's just some lenders just be like more strict or like a-holes or whatever.
Exactly.
You know what the thing too is, I think is like it's really important when you're shopping like lenders or vendors is like the person you're dealing with. There's like various levels of like competency, I'd say. So for instance, like we've done some sub twos in the past, and I'm like, hey, like I'll call the lender up and say, hey, I want to make a payment on behalf of so and so, right? And then like the person on the other line is like, you can't do that. I'm like, are you? No, I know I can. It's like, it says, you can't do that. I'm sorry. Like so and so has to make the payment on. So okay. So I'll hang on the phone, call again, get another person on the line, say, hey, I'd like to make a payment on behalf of so and so. And they're like, sure. Yeah. And it's just the person on the line who doesn't know like the rules or what's possible. And I run into this all the time, whether it comes like vendors, like banks, especially like loan officers. There's a lot of things where it's perfectly fine to do, escrow officers, a lot of these things, but if you don't have the right person in place or like they don't have the right knowledge or the right authority, then like they're gonna block you, and it's like, and you're just gonna think like, oh, I just can't do this because like they told you can't do it, like, you know.
Yeah, exactly, and it's just a lot of education, right, and a lot of for the lender and like the escrow company, because not all escrow companies do this too. So
I mean, so like there's escrow companies, there's like the lenders. I mean, like there's on the new side. I mean, like the servicing companies. Not all servicing companies would do it, right? There's so many parts to this. But you gotta make sure like you have a good like all the team. And one of the best ways to find a team is find somebody like yourself who's already doing it, and like kind of piggyback on who are you using for your escrow company, who are you using for your servicers, et cetera. Right?
Yeah, so, exactly. And like joining like a community. I mean, it helps a lot, right? Being I know Pace Morby has like a public group. There's like 150K people in there.
Really that many people?
Yeah, there's a lot. And then I know if I had a question, I just searched whatever I was asking. Somebody asked it already. So all the answers for you, or you can just look on YouTube University. You know
there's so much information out there. If you're just like to spend a little time looking, like you can find like majority of the information.
Exactly. Yeah.
So going back to this deal, how do you guys make money in this case?
Yeah, so we have like several exits. Okay. So our primary exit, it's like a wraparound mortgage. Okay. And it's either that. If that doesn't work out, we do like co-living.
Break down the wraparound with for me. So like you buy for $320.
But yeah.
So you actually have to buy for a little more because like you paid the agent too, right? So you probably pay like $330, $335. Yeah. Maybe like $15,000 to the agent, and then $20,000 to the seller. The mortgage stays at $300. So you own this property now for $335-ish. Yeah. And then you have the mortgage for $300.
Correct. Okay. Yeah. And then I would have to mark up. I mark up probably like. We mark up 5 to 10%. From the 335. Okay. And then we mark up the interest rate as well. So we have the underlying mortgage at 3%. Okay. We're offering around like between like 7 and 9. Okay. Okay.
So what you're gonna do is like you're gonna take this house that you bought for $335. You're gonna put it on the market or like on like advertise it somewhere for like $350, $360. Yeah. And then like instead of the person paying like they're going to take over that $300,000 mortgage. They got to put down a down payment, and then they have to put in like, but they're going to pay like 7 or 8% as opposed to 3%, and then you guys get that spread, 7% minus the 3%, so you guys keep the 4% spread.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, on the purchase price and the interest rate.
So then, like, how are you finding like these end buyers, and like, why would they want to do this?
Yeah, I mean, because I know a lot of lenders now have really like strict requirements. So like our like essential goal is to get somebody into the house, because like once you're in the house, the owner, right? Once you're a homeowner, like you basically have all the power. I mean, power, quote unquote power.
And plus, it's something psychological, right? Like you own a house. It's different than when you're renting.
Yeah, exactly. You're putting it towards your home as opposed to somebody else's home. But yeah, it's people who can't get approved for a loan traditionally. That typically work with us. A lot of like entrepreneurs, like us, like real estate agents, you know what I mean?
They have
business owners.
They have an income, but it's inconsistent, and lenders don't like it, so like they can't qualify as a DTI. Yeah, exactly. Or they're a construction worker and they get paid under the table or whatever.
Yeah, or they have like we call it mattress money. So if they have a lot of mattress money and they show us their bank account, it looks like they don't have any like deposits or anything showing steady income. What we would do is actually execute the lease option. Okay. So within the 2 years of lease option, then they can buy it. We can convert them to like a owner financing or a wrap, right? Okay. But for the lease option, they pay the monthly payment. They show in their bank account that they're making like consistent deposits into it. If they show that, then we can convert them easily. It's just
like a conventional loan afterwards, you mean?
Convert them to like regular owner financing.
Okay.
Because lease option, they're just leasing it from us.
I see.
Then with an agreed upon price, and then when they want to exercise their option, or when they can exercise it, but we're essentially doing like a payment plan.
So let's break down what a lease option is.
So a lease option is they lease it to us for a certain amount of years.
So they're renting
right? So
they're renting
for a certain amount of years, and then they have the option, basically the first right of refusal to buy it
at a agreed upon price.
Exactly. Agreed upon price. They put like an option fee into that option fee / down payment. Gives them that option to say, yes, I'm ready to, I can buy the house.
So what, I mean, just to break down what's happening is like, so you own it for like $335, right? You say, hey, Mr. Smith, I'll sell it to you for $360. But then like, he doesn't have like, he's not ready to buy it yet. So he's like, hey, here's like 10 grand down towards like my $360 purchase. In the meantime, I'm going to just pay you like rent, like $2,000 a month in rent or whatever to cover the mortgage. And then like within the next 2 years, once I can build up my credit or get my DTI high or whatever, I'm going to have the option to buy it at this agreed upon $360,000 price. And so if the market goes up and it's worth $380, he can buy for $360.
Exactly.
It's like he just has that price locked in for the next 2 years or whatever you agree upon. So.
Exactly. Yeah. And then, they're able to, own a home. They can do that option. They can use a regular lender to do it, or they can use us. Or they can just, we're the lender.
So if you're the lender, what is like? So is that how the wraparound? Was that what it is?
So I become the lender. So it's instead of being a landlord, you become a lien lord. That's what they call it.
Break that down for me, like how that works.
Yeah. So if you're a landlord, you're managing the property, you're definitely hands on. Lien lord, you're in lender position. So because homeowners are not going to call Chase Bank if their toilet is leaking, right?
Yeah.
So that's how we look at it as, and that's why we even got into wrap, is because we'd rather be the lien lord than a landlord. But depending on the property, and depending on the buyer, that we either have to play lien lord or landlord. So
the benefits of being like, if you're the landlord, you never give away the property. So after they're finished renting it, you're going to get it back and rent it to the next person.
Exactly.
But if you're the lien lord, now they own the property. And so like at the end of like the term, 30 years or 25 years or whatever it is, they're going to be the owners. But during that time, it's like hassle free for you because you're not going to do any repairs. Like they're the owner. So like they're going to take care of it themselves. They're going to make the repairs. They're going to pay their insurance and taxes on it. So,
exactly. And I guess the downside of being a lien lord, I don't get all that appreciation. I don't get any of the tax benefits, nothing. It's just straight cash flow. But with a landlord, you go through all that, all those tax benefits.
So I mean, like in your case, is there one that you prefer over the other?
Yeah, I would rather be a lien lord. Just because I don't have to deal with any of the maintenance or anything like that. It's just more of, let's just say it's more passive, quote unquote. And I'll be cash flowing for the next like 30 years. There's no tax benefits to being a lien lord, just because we're just literally wedging ourselves in the middle in there and just collecting cash flow. But
I mean, what kind of cash flow can you expect from like one of these deals?
Yeah, it ranges from like 800 to up to like 1500. I've seen
that's a good range.
Yeah, I've seen a 2K cash flow before. It wasn't ours, but it was another person that we worked with.
So the thing is, and you're also getting like a down payment in the front end too, right? Because you're getting like a little bit of cash up front, and then the difference. So let's say like you own it, let's say for $335, and let's say you sell it for $360. Where do you get that difference? Is it upfront, over time? How do you get that money back?
So we make it all in the cash flow. So we essentially get paid. Well, like a few times during the whole like life, right? The transaction. The first part is when we get the down payment, and then the cash flow, from the interest rate cash flow, and then when we sell or when they sell the property.
I see. So where do you like find these buyers who would want to like do this with you?
Yeah, biggest success was like Facebook, like Marketplace.
Okay. So you kind of post on Facebook and then you say like, hey, I've got a house that I'm willing to sell on seller finance or like rent to own. What do you guys call it?
So it really depends. So what we do, we market the down payment price.
Okay.
And then people like are gonna click on it. Or they're like, "What the heck? There's no house this cheap."
You mean also like, I'm selling a house for 20 grand?
Yeah,
yeah.
Essentially, yeah. And they're gonna look at it, and then when they go in the description, we make sure to put a disclaimer because you can get banned from Facebook like with a quickness.
I see.
We've gone through those trials and tribulations. We got banned for like a few months.
So I mean, so before. Like because when you list it on the marketplace, because there's a sale price.
Yeah.
So the sale price is the down payment.
It's a down payment price, and then we disclaim that like, hey. The sales price advertised is the down payment. Okay. And then we lay down the terms.
So as long as you have that disclaimer and have it very clearly in the description, Facebook is like they're cool with it.
Yeah. And then the name of the game is real estate, right? Is disclose. Yeah. That's the answers to the real estate agent exam, by the way.
No, I love this. Like, so like when you're marketing to like these buyers, you're like, hey, I've got a house in, let's say like where I live, like in Honolulu for 10 grand. Anybody want to buy a house? And then people are like, oh, this is interesting. Let's see what this is. And they click on it. Yeah. And then you explain, hey, it's 10 grand down. And then like, you're going to pay like this mortgage or whatever. And so you kind of like outline the terms, but like, it gets them in the door to kind of say like, hey, maybe like I can afford 10 grand. I can't afford like $1 million, but I can afford 10 grand. Right. So
yeah, exactly. Okay. And like what a lot of buyers from what we see is it's either they have like three things, is what matters to them. They have three things that matters to them a lot is either the down payment, the interest rate, or the purchase price. Okay. So when we talk to a lot of sellers, I'm like, what do you want? You can have 2 out of the 3. Yeah. Like you can't have everything, all that you want. But typically what we see, monthly payment matters a lot. Okay. Just because you can incorporate it to your budget. Yeah. Purchase price really doesn't matter unless they have an investor mindset, then that's different, right? Because a lot of the people we sell to are all homestead buyers. They want to live in that family, like generationally, pass it down, right? And they just want to get that low monthly payment. So we would have to mark up like the purchase price, lower the interest rate. Right?
So you're kind of, I mean, like you have a puzzle in front of you, right? So like that, every buyer has something that's different, like more or less important to them. So if let's say like there's 3 things you can play with, 3 levers. There's down payment, right? It can be like a small or large down payment for the buyer. Yeah. It can be the monthly payment. It could be like a high or medium or small monthly payment, or it could be the purchase price, which should be like low, medium, or high. Yeah. And so like you're gonna kind of like so let's say like they have like a small down payment. Okay, now the monthly payment and like the purchase price is gonna be higher, or and then if like, hey, I don't want like a large down payment. Okay, now like the monthly payment can be smaller, or the purchase price can be like smaller, etc. So you kind of like play with the levers. So you're gonna make money no matter what, but then they can choose where like it matters most to them. Yeah,
and then like when we talk to these buyers, like we don't want to put somebody into a home where they become house rich and cash poor. Yeah, like if they have like, I can put 200, 300K down. We're like, no, keep that. Just give me like 80 to 100K down.
You want some reserves, right?
I want some reserves. Like, don't you want to do stuff to the house? Like don't put all your eggs in one basket. Like we don't want to put people in that position. And we know like our interest rate's going to be a little bit over market. But it gets them into the house, and sometimes their credit may never improve, just because of the current situation that they're in. But they're in a house, they own it, they're able to sell it.
At least you're giving them a chance, right? It's like that. Hey, here's like you have options at least, like when you're the owner or like you're in the house at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I love every part of this. I feel like I would love to sell some of my houses up too, and I would love to buy some of my houses up too. Like, you know, it just makes a lot of sense. I feel like on a lot of different levels. Yeah. The one thing, the question is, what happens with the banks? Are they okay with this?
I mean, because this is not essentially like the traditional assumable.
So you're not like, so one case is like you assume the loan where like it actually gets assumed and put into your name. Yeah. But in this case, it's staying in the seller's name. Yeah. So then like what happens like what's the bank situation over there?
We call it like a silent assumption, right?
Okay.
When the deed transfers, I mean, we essentially the original lender doesn't get notified, right?
Do they get notified, the lender?
That the the property has sold, no. I mean that the
Okay.
the loan stays in place.
Yeah,
yes.
so like there's no notification to the lender, right? So
Yeah.
they're oblivious to it as long as they're getting their monthly payment.
Yeah.
Like it's like that.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people worry about with creative deals and like sub 2 is like the due on sale clause.
Yeah. What is
Right?
that?
Due on sale clause is let's just say you sell the property.
Okay.
The lender can just say, hey, I want the money now.
Yeah,
I want
yeah,
everything.
yeah.
This whole 300K balance
Yeah.
that you have.
Yeah.
I want it now.
So that's a very real I guess risk whenever you're buying or selling something on sub 2.
Yeah. I mean, out of all the deals that we had, we've never, I mean, knock on wood, we've never had any due on sale clauses because there's only two main reasons why.
Okay.
If you don't pay the mortgage,
Okay.
or you don't set up insurance correctly.
Okay.
Yeah, because a lot of people forget to put the mortgage company or the original lender on the insurance as like the lost payee.
I see. Like additional insured or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you buy you buy from like an owner.
Yeah.
And then do they cancel their insurance and you put your own insurance on? How does that work?
Yeah. So what we do while we're in contract, we're already shopping insurance. We have an insurance company that we use, our TC. I don't know the name from the top of my head, but I can send it to you. But yeah, we're already shopping rates. And then as soon as it closes, we wait probably 5-10 days.
Okay.
Then the original owner cancels their current policy. We go into the portal because we have access. We have power of attorney to call on behalf of the owner, and we upload the new policy.
Okay.
And then that's
so
it.
I think that's the important part too. Can you explain how the power of attorney works?
Yeah. So power of attorney is the original seller gives us power to make decisions on their behalf regarding that specific property.
So just the property, right?
Just the property, not their life.
Limited power of attorney over just the mortgage or the loan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
And so now that you have the power of attorney, you can actually call the company and say, hey, Mr. Lender, I have the power of attorney. I would on behalf of Mr. Smith, I'd like to change the insurance company, or I'd like to make payments or whatever it is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so, so that solves that problem. But let's say the lender, for whatever reason, you missed some payments, and then the lender says, hey, I want to call the loan due. What would happen at that point in time?
Yeah. So what we would do, we would transfer. Assume we have the deed in lieu already in there, right? So we transfer it back to the owner, the deed.
Okay.
Notify the lender hey, sorry, hand slap, my bad. Then the seller we would do a contract for deed. Okay. Very similar to how you buy your car when you finance a car, right? You don't get the pink slip until it's fully paid off. Same concept. I don't get the deed, but all that it is basically a promise to pay or a contract for deed is what they call it, or executory contract.
So what's the difference between a contract for deed and the sub 2 the way you guys are typically doing it?
Yeah. So contract for deed, the deed stays with the owner the whole time.
So they are still the owner. Yeah. But then you have rights. How does that how do you have so if it's still with the owner, how can you sell it or wrap it or do anything with it?
In the contract for deed, I still have full rights to sell the property, do whatever I want with it. And then for a sub 2, the deed gets transferred to me.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the big difference.
So I mean, is there any reason why you would choose one over the other in any scenario?
Deed transfers are always sticky. Mm-hmm. If you get into any bad situations or whatever it may be.
Deed transfers like that.
Let's say transferring the deed back and forth.
I see.
That can get costly. A lot of coordination that goes in between that. I know it's just a simple signature. Yeah. But still in between that, trying to get in contact with the seller. Let's say the seller just goes ghost on us. And then we can't transfer it back, and then the loan is being called due, and all the worst case scenarios just start happening. Yeah.
Do you guys ever have any issues or any hiccups in any of these 50 plus deals that you guys have done?
I mean, let's just say not yet. I don't want to say never.
I mean, the thing is whenever, if you're doing enough deals, it's going to be a matter of time before something happens. Yeah. But you have a community, you have resources, you'll have some things to be able to figure it out. I feel
exactly. And that's why you want to surround yourself with people who've done it before, right? They probably made that mistake a long time ago already. Yeah. And they can
the insurance one, or maybe the Pardo not making the payment or something.
Exactly. And that's why being part of the, I guess, community that in the strategy that you want to be in, definitely help accelerate.
Okay. So I mean, what are your your goals as far as like, are you trying to like cash flow higher? Are you trying to like sell more of these? What's kind of like the plan like of your current business model?
Yeah. So right now, like towards the buying season for like homes, right? It's starting to, it's going to slow down now. Probably like September going all the way to October,
season,
right? Right.
Okay.
Everyone's kids are in school.
Yeah.
They're not looking for homes. They don't want to move into new home while their kids are in school. So that's why we're adding co-living. Co-living into it, and that's more a cash flow play. So we're converting like a 2,100 square foot homes into like, it was originally like a 3 or 4 bedroom. We converted to like a 6 or 7.
How are you doing that?
Yes, I mean we would depending on the square footage, of course. We would add walls.
So you guys are having like your contractor put in walls.
Exactly.
Or, like drywall walls or just like curtains? Like
drywall walls.
Legit walls. Okay, so
legit walls.
You guys are adding more bedrooms and like that. So you kind of splitting up the house into like more rentable like rooms.
Yeah.
And then by doing that, you're getting like a higher rent.
Exactly. I can charge probably like 1,000, and it's like all included, all inclusive, all like utilities, internet,
per room.
Per room. Yeah. And then they have like a common area that everyone can hang out, because like the biggest goal is giving these like a lot of like digital nomads, right? Young professionals, just professionals in general. They don't
leave their parents' house.
Exactly, like want to be independent. You know what I mean? Have their own place, and they get to meet new people, like other like-minded people.
Is it co-ed? Is it what's like?
Yeah, it's co-ed. Okay, so. Yeah.
So I mean, so like the reason why you do this is because like maybe like, so option one would be to like do a wrap.
Yeah.
Where like it's a lot cleaner.
Yeah.
But then like if you can't do a wrap, or like let's say like it's not buying season.
Yeah.
Then you're like, hey, like let's keep it ourselves and just rent out the room separately. And then because we're renting it by the room, there's more than enough like rent to cover all of like expenses and cash flow.
Yeah. Exactly. And those cash flows are a lot higher from running the numbers. I mean, that ranges from like, I would say like 1,500 to like almost like 25 to like almost the high twos. And
you're a property manager, so you have some experience as far as like how to manage these things, or like
like when I first got into property management, I worked for student housing. It was just like this luxury property like next to USC, right, in LA, and then. I mean, I got a crash course of property management quickly over there.
I feel like whenever you have these like co-living situations, someone's gonna get pissed off at someone. There's like someone's boyfriend's gonna sleep over, or like someone's not gonna do the dishes, or like someone's gonna play the radio too loud or something like.
Exactly, and there will always be those problems. That's why a lot of like vetting needs to happen. Of course, still being compliant with like fair housing laws. But we want to make sure the roommates, or the not roommates, like housemates, are comfortable with people they're living with. That's why the common area, there's no like personal stuff allowed there.
So you guys have like, I mean, so it sounds like you have done a lot of these already. So like you guys have like your rules and kind of like your system to make sure like that. Try to make the least amount of drama like on the front end side of things.
Yeah, exactly. We want to make sure to disclose. I'm like, hey, you're gonna be living with other people.
Like, do they have a say in who comes in, or?
No. I mean, they don't have a say, but they do have input. I mean, they can let us know.
You'll listen to like your
have to say, so. And having like an on-site manager, you know what I mean, that really
what's an on-site manager?
Like a person, I guess, like our boots on the ground on the property,
like living. So one of the housemates is like the
main
manager
contact.
Or something.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. Like let us know. Like,
so they get like a discounted rent, or like how's that?
They get a discounted rent, or they just get like a stipend.
Okay.
Or for anything that they do, we just pay them on top of.
Got it. That's very interesting. Have you had a lot of success with like the co-living?
Yeah, we're still like we're still early in the process, just because we're converting some of our homes already into co-living. I mean, we've turned one into co-living where we didn't add any rooms or anything like that. It already had like 4 or 5 bedrooms. And it made sense. But if I wanted to really just force the cash flow, then we would have like cut it up. But we try to avoid cutting up rooms and whatnot, because it really depends. I was looking at it. What they consider rooms in like San Francisco is like 80, I think it's like 70 square feet is considered room. That's like nothing. It's very small. But they're charging like, it's ridiculous. It's like $800-900 for that room, but they have like 10 people in one house.
Wow.
It's crazy to me. We try to avoid that as much as possible.
Not too crowded.
Yeah. And then I think we could charge a little bit more of a premium for the ones with less bedrooms because they have less roommates. Less problems to deal with, or potential problems.
I mean, I find that like really intriguing because like from a spreadsheet standpoint or like a pro forma, I feel like the numbers would be amazing.
It looks amazing.
I would just be worried about like the drama or like the turnover or like any kind of like damage. Like, you know, there's how time intensive is that from like a property management standpoint?
Oh, it's definitely time intensive. Like you really need a team. So we have about like 8 VAs that run the operations.
So like they can contact the VAs and the VAs can try and solve or diffuse any of the problems
and then if they can't, just let us know. Let one of us know. Let me know.
Any crazy situations you had to step into over here?
Not yet. Not yet. I have stories in like student housing days, but
what's one of the craziest stories that happened with as a property manager?
Let's see. I don't even know if it's appropriate, to be honest. It's pretty bad. Let's just say there was one of the students like overdosed, and the neighbor or the dorm mate, the dorm mate didn't notice. They thought it was a friend that the other roommate brought. That was the one overdosed. It wasn't even the exact roommate or dorm mate. And they didn't know, and the person was just there, and they were just sleeping there for a good 4 days, and like good thing like rigor mortis didn't hit or anything like that. I mean that was pretty traumatic experience.
The person die? They're dead.
Yeah, in there, and then that's crazy. That was one of the craziest thing. Imagine talking to the parents. Talk to those parents, letting them know, hey, like your son didn't let them know, and then the other roommate didn't let anybody know too, because I mean he's a kid. He was scared. He goes, you know what I mean? He's most prestigious schools, and like life is gonna make a turnaround, and I can understand why he did that, the rationale thinking, but of course, I mean that was a crazy story. That's crazy. I don't want to go too much into detail, that was a crazy story that happened in like student housing. That is, I don't say it's like traumatizing, but it was definitely a thing to remember. Yeah.
No, I mean like it's part of life, right? There's things that are gonna happen, but and being in the real estate or property management like space, you're always gonna have like just like unusual situations. The more like doors you manage. Yeah. So it's just like it comes with the territory. Yeah. So
exactly. Yeah.
If somebody wants to kind of get started in like, let's say the creative finance or the wraps, what's like the first step? Like what do they do?
I would go on YouTube, type in creative financing, watch every video on there, and then take action. Okay. That's like the biggest thing. A lot of people, I mean, I have that problem too. Like the shiny object, I'm like, oh shoot, man, let me do short-term rental. Let me do midterm rental. Let me do wraps. Let me do cola. Everything like sounds so good. It's like pick one and then you can expand.
I mean, another idea is sub to creative finance and then Airbnb on it too, right?
Oh, so, exactly. Yeah. I know. Yeah, plenty of people do that type of model.
Is there a reason why you guys haven't done any of those yet?
Yeah, we our partner Mitch. He had about like 70 Airbnbs before he like joined us, and I mean, he wanted to get out of the landlord. He wanted to be a lien lord. That's why he did. Yeah, that's why he wanted to get out of it. It's very heavy,
like intensive, right? Because you gotta like clean. You gotta clean. It's like a business, and then you gotta make sure get up the ratings, like, become a super host, and like so like you're really like beholden to like the clients and the people who are visiting the
exactly.
Property, so
it's a lot of turnover. I feel like
But you do get cash flow pretty high.
You do. Depending. I've seen those cash flows. People are like cash flowing like 3-4K. Like
we have a couple that we're cash flowing pretty well on. So
oh, nice.
But, I mean, the Airbnb is its own kind of space. I feel like it's I like everything is always nuanced, right? So like you have like the regular tenant, the long term tenants. You have like the midterm tenants. You have like the lien lords where like they're living there, like or leaseholds or the different things. And you've got like the co-living space. You got Airbnb. They all have like their own like nuances and like pluses and minuses. So.
Yeah, it just depends what you like.
Yeah. Like what fits like your criteria, your market, like and sometimes like Airbnb is illegal depending on where you live, etc. Right? So
I would imagine like Airbnb would be killing here, right?
Yes and no. I mean, like there's some challenges to it depending on like the zoning and some of the things. But I mean, like it's before the zoning came in, it was like everybody was just crushing an Airbnb. But like, once the zoning came in, that makes it a little more challenging. There's a few like things to obstacles to overcome. So
yeah, that's how it was in like San Francisco as well. Because I thought about getting into Airbnb too.
Yeah.
And I know you have to live on site for like at least like 260 days out of the year, something like that, in order for you to Airbnb it, and then that's
all these like the restrictions.
Yeah,
it makes it like a little more difficult for like that, depending on what you're doing. So
yeah, exactly.
Very, very cool, man. So on the co-living space, if somebody wants to get into the co-living spaces, like what's like the best way to kind of like get started on something like that?
I mean the join communities, go to meetups. I mean, the biggest thing, I mean, I guess with any strategy, but for the specific one, look for specialized meetups like that, or go to a lot of real estate investment meetups, talk to people who've done it before, ask them questions, figure out what value you can bring them so they can essentially take you under their wing, whatever it may be. Because I know people ask, hey, like, how can I bring value to you? I'm like, shoot, I don't know. You tell me. You find the hole in my business, and then
so because like, I mean, like as a newer investor, like you're like, hey, I want to do this. I know that Virg is like kind of the expert at, let's say, co-living. How can I learn co-living from Virg? But like the investor has to find a way to bring value to you and like get someone fresh, or if there be some kind of exchange.
Yeah, and I'm happy to answer like questions like anytime.
I just want to ask you some questions.
Yeah,
but you're not gonna like, hey, like take you to the property and like and manage your tenants for them, or etc.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't manage other people's properties anymore. We just manage ours. Yeah.
So what's like the next 3 to 5 years look like for you?
I mean, 3 to 5 years. I would say want to retire within like 3 to 5 years. Hit that financial freedom goal.
Just live out the cash flow.
Live out the cash flow. But I still want to do invest and and do other ventures. But as of right now, this is straight focus mode. But
just building cash flow right now.
Building cash flow, building capital, the whole nine.
Do you have like a magic number you want to get to as far as like net or?
Yeah. I mean, I'm very probably. I would say goal is probably like 30, 40 a month. I mean, that's
okay.
That would be.
That's like enough to like have a very, very comfortable life.
Very comfortable life. Yeah.
No, I feel like that's and then it's reasonable given like your current trajectory and like the deal flows and everything. It's like, I feel like that's and if you were to talk to like a normal person, I feel like 30, 40 grand, they'd be like, get out of here. Like that's like, I mean, as a W-2, right? Like that's like so impossible. But like now that in the industry that you're in with like the creative financing, the deals you're seeing come across your plate and like your current trajectory, 30, 40 grand is just a matter of time.
Yeah. Right. You just gotta keep grinding it. Yeah.
I mean, isn't that crazy? I mean, like 30, 40 grand a month, it's just a matter of time for you. And like, probably you'll get to there in like 3 to 4 years. Like it's like that.
Yeah. It's like it grasps. Cause I remember when I first started doing like, creative financing was like a little, like almost 2 years. A lot has, cause I was we were on like a different team, and then we found another team. But that from when we joined the new team, when we partnered up, we didn't think we were going to be, I guess, in the position that we're at now. We didn't. It was not even like on the crosshairs on the radar. And looking at it now, it's like okay, like we get to travel, we get to visit all these like different states, like all through like Texas. We just did a Texas trip. We went to like Arizona, stayed there for as well. It was fun.
I mean, it's just very cool. I mean, I feel like I've had a similar experience where just real estate has opened up the possibilities of like what's possible for life. And then at the same time, the journey of real estate allows you to like travel, to have like freedom of time, to like kind of like take your own vacations, make your own schedule. There's a whole lot of things that like real estate investing has done, at least in my life, and it sounds like the same thing for you too. So
and then I mean, taking like the entrepreneurial route, people think that it's after it's like, oh, we're gonna work less. No, we work a lot, way more.
We work our butts off.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like you're building your own wealth.
Yeah.
And then it's something that you're like, it's a choice. It's not like you don't have to. It's like you're choosing to do it, right? So it feels different than like that.
Yeah.
Like that, and like just like when you look at like the future at a W-2, like I work. I'm gonna be here. If I don't work, I'll be here. If I work super hard, I'm gonna be here. It's like the the same ceiling. But as entrepreneurs, like if I don't work, I'm going to be here. If I work super hard, I can get to here. So it's just like, it's more incentive to like work hard because you'll get to really reap the fruits of your labor.
Yeah. And it's unlimited. You can, you put more, whatever work you put in, you'll get out.
Yeah. Super cool. Well, if people want to reach out or find more about you, where can they best do so?
Yeah, you can follow me on IG, Delio with Virgilio.
Okay.
If you have any questions regarding creative financing, or if you just want to say hello, don't hesitate to reach out.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming to the show.
Yeah.